Welcome to After the Show, your weekly movie podcast brought to you by A. Scully and Sid Talk. We're addicted to movies. Are you? Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, Sid Talk. Hello.
Good afternoon.
How you doing?
I'm very well. You got me right in the middle of a swallow.
Yeah. Is it a bad time for you?
Gulp. No. Everything's fine. It's all fine.
So,
All's good.
Before the after the show discussion, we was talking about this movie a little bit.
Yeah, but before the after the show discussion, which was before the movie even, we talked a little bit about those AI videos.
We did.
And the implications on movie watching. And one of your interesting conclusions was that there might be a time when there's like a digital vending machine where you want to watch a movie. You want to watch, what was your example? The Godfather. But you want to plug in Tom Cruise and you only want it to be 30 minutes long. And you want it to be a cartoon. And then you put all that in there and boom, you get the movie. And it has translated it and made it into that. Now, I know that sounds awful to some people, but
it could also be a lot of fun.
It could be interesting, so I'm not opposed to it, but it's a slippery slope. But that was the before the movie discussion.
Yes, we are all going to be taken over by our AI overlords very soon.
Fair enough.
Sooner than you think. All right, this is After the Show. We're a movie review podcast. Every week we look at a new movie. This week, on Saturday, February the 17th, episode 826, we're looking at the movie I.S.S. It's a 2023 release, out now, rated R, from our friends at Bleecker Street. Sid Talk, give us a synopsis of the movie I.S.S.
Scientists on the ISS, which is the International Space Station, have to confront a little bit of conflict on Earth and deal with that. I don't have a good one because I think it's so basic, it's hard to actually...
Well, here's the one off the box.
Okay.
Tensions flare in the near future aboard the International Space Station as a conflict breaks out on Earth, reeling the US and Russian astronauts who receive orders from the ground to take control of the station by any means necessary.
Wow, they really just told you the
That's the crux of the movie.
That's like your pitch, right? That's your elevator pitch. That's not like your byline. Okay. That's what it is.
So that's what happens.
A nuclear war breaks out on Earth. The only people on that station at the moment are 3 people from Russia and 3 people from America. And then the governments tell them,
quietly, like, hey, everybody.
Because everything becomes a weapon in war. And then we get to see the emotional conflict that each of them goes through to deal with.
You can't trust anybody and that kind of thing. Tension.
Yeah, I just would say it's like unexpected spies in space almost. Not really spies, I guess, but...
something like that.
Yeah, and I'll just start by saying...
let me start by asking you.
Okay.
What did you think of the movie ISS?
Okay, overall, I enjoyed it because I like anything that's in space. Technically, a space station, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not super futuristic because it says present day, but I kind of like the vibe.
No, it does say in the near future.
No, it says present day.
It says here, tensions flare.
Right, on there it does, but in the movie, it said on the ISS present day, right?
Oh, okay.
Like that card before the movie starts?
Yes.
That's what it said. So that's what I'm going by. Maybe the person making those little letters
is an AI.
Or maybe they didn't talk to the people who made the box. I don't know. Overall, I enjoyed it. It's just that it's so basic. And I understand that being on the International Space Station is the hook, right? That's the interesting part. But it makes it so bland that it isn't the interesting part. And then it becomes 2 groups of people who are expected to pit themselves against each other for the good of their own country because they're at war, right? And that doesn't interest me. And so that was really hard for me to keep holding on to my attention, keeping it in my attention, or however you want to say it.
Well, I will say, you're going to ask me if I like this.
Yeah, how did you like this movie, Scully? Scully?
I didn't like this movie.
Oh, God.
I found it very boring.
Okay.
I hate the 0G special effects because they look like shit.
Oh, interesting.
Like, they're in 0G. Everybody in the space station, they look like they've got very wide pants on because they're trying to hide the wires that are on their hips. So everybody's pants look really wide and weird looking.
Well, I'll be honest about what you're saying here and say that I have watched lots of NASA video and live streams from the International Space Station.
Did they have wide pants?
It does look like that. They've got weird posture.
Well,
like
I could see where the wire is kind of pulling on the clothes, but they've removed the wire. It just looked bad all the time. And it was bugging me. Also, there was scenarios where the gravity thing didn't even matter. So there's a guy making a sandwich. He's got like bottles that are not floating away. They just sat there.
No, they're Velcroed to the table.
Oh, is that what was going on?
Yeah, didn't you? I said, right, when she picked up the mayonnaise and it's like, rip, and I said, oh, yes, Velcro.
Well, there's sometimes where gravity doesn't, it's like they didn't try or something.
Wow, I didn't see this. I was watching pretty close.
I could totally see where the wires were removed lots of times, and it was awkward. Also, there was this awkward like camera movement, so they're trying to we're definitely floating here, so we'll just move the camera like we're on a train all the time. That was annoying. Yeah,
and I think that if you're distracted by that, that means you're not fully in the story because the story isn't that interesting.
No, and the story is just like, it's almost generic.
Yeah, it's the same as any...
I was actually intrigued for about 20 minutes. I was like, I don't know where this is going. This could be anything, right? It could be an alien story. It could be anything. I don't know what this movie is.
Absolutely.
And then when it comes to the point where it said, where you basically see the Earth from the space station and all the nukes going off, I was like, that's cool. But then we don't see it for long enough. We literally get like glimpses. It seemed like they were doing it on the cheap. You see it a little bit, and then you don't see it, and then they say, oh, close the shutters so we can't see it anymore. Then I was like, okay. I was hoping it was something super interesting, but now we're just trapped back inside. It's going to be all small. There's going to be no like grandeur to it. Doesn't feel like it. And then it just turns into like stabbing people in the back, etc. I've got to do this for my country.
Yeah.
It never really amounts to anything because I felt like I knew what was going to happen all the time.
Well, I mean, it does amount to something. So let's say, what's happened on Earth? The nuclear bombs have gone off. They can see that half the Earth is on fire. Their governments have told them the thing. And now the two commander guys, like we're assuming one's from, that they're the highest ranking two on the space station, right? They have to make their decisions. And then you have the two people closest to each of them because they know them and they've been around them more. And then you have kind of like the wild cards, and we're going to say the two who we end up with, spoiler, are the two that are like more emotionally balanced as human beings. Maybe we'll say, I don't know, maybe not, but all it is about is
like how people react to stress.
Yeah, like somebody sat around a writing table and goes real like intellectually snotty, academically going, well, if I was on the space station and I was under these orders, well, I would definitely do the thing. I would take out the other three people because, I mean, you have to, right? And then someone else is like, but no, it's about the humanity. And if we're the only 6 people left alive, we should all cooperate and have compassion and empathy. And then they wrote that down.
Yeah.
And then it's like the most obvious 2-dimensional cardboard cutouts of what you would do. And I found that very that to me was more distracting than like the images that I was seeing.
Like it felt cheap to me, and production wise, it just felt a bit lazy and cheap. It's not visually interesting after 10 minutes.
It isn't, unfortunately. I really, really wanted it to be, but yeah.
And you're just like, okay, we've got a very small space. We've seen many movies that are in a very small space that are actually interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this one, we watched this movie channel with like really cheap B movies on it. Scream Factory TV, different channels like that on free cable, And sometimes those movies you're like, oh, this is really cheap and real basic. This is how this felt, but kind of wrapped in a Hollywood thing. But it felt
obvious.
We've just got a really like simple story. There's not really any twists and turns.
The twists and turns are that some people die. Right, we've got 6 people.
Well, I expected that from the very beginning.
Yeah, so. Some people die, so shit goes down because shit's going down. But it's the most obvious things too. Like they tell a guy to go do a spacewalk and then flick him off, and then somebody gets hit in the head with a thing, and then the 2 dudes basically kill each other. The 2 leader, So you're like, yeah. So what I was hoping for, actually, and this is how distracted I was that our main lady who went up there That she was like some sort of spy or some sort of like in the know. Because when he said to her in that one conversation, well, you sped right through the space program, which is very unusual. And you weren't doing this before. So like, what's your secret? And I'm like, oh, okay. So maybe the people on the ground knew that this whole nuclear war thing was coming and they needed to send somebody up there to either take it over completely or sabotage something. I mean, even that would be kind of boring, but it would have been something. So I kind of like rubbing my fingers together like, oh, she's going to be something that she doesn't appear to be.
Yeah.
And spoiler alert, she's not. She's really, really not.
Another way it came across to me was like, it's an episode of Black Mirror, but a bad one that you would go like, I didn't really like that one.
Yeah, because nothing weird happened at all.
Yeah, nothing.
That's why when I think the beginning cards kind of let me down in terms of any anticipation of interesting things, because it just says ISS space station's been up there this long. It's got these people on it. Here's the present day. That's it. If it had said in the near future on that little title card, or if it had said the year 2042 or something like that, where it's like, okay, we've moved 20 years in the future. So like anything weird could have been invented or anything like that, right? You could have a Data on board, like a Data from Star Trek type situation, or they're growing the food that'll feed the whole planet. Technology has got whatever, but it wasn't. It was like now. And then I'm sitting there thinking, okay, so they're not going to tell me a story that can happen now that has anything interesting in it.
Right.
That kind of futuristic stuff.
We don't see anybody down on Earth. There's no communication back and forth. It never goes away from this being trapped in this one place.
It's another academic exercise in not showing you what's really going on. They show you the Earth on fire all the time.
Yeah.
So we're looking out that little portal, which we've all seen if we've seen NASA videos.
Well, hopefully we've not seen the whole world on fire.
No, we've seen the Earth from the space station, but this is the Earth, like mostly burning.
Mm-hmm.
And so we keep seeing that, reminding us of that. So the intellectual exercises, well, if you just never show them, then it doesn't matter. Because what really matters is that some humans still have humanity in them, you know?
Yeah.
I'm just imagining things that probably never happened.
One of the like screenwriting techniques is actually where they say show, don't tell. Is that right?
Show, don't tell. What do you mean?
In a story or in a movie, you're supposed to show, not tell. Like, don't explain something, like show it on the screen because it's a movie.
I got you. Yeah.
This movie shows you for like a few seconds and then talks about it for a while. So it doesn't feel as grand as it should, because I've seen through this tiny little peephole, oh, look, the world down there, it's on fire. But that's all I see.
Yeah.
It never decides to, hey, let's just go to the ground for a second and just show you what's going on down there. It never does that. So,
I guess that would be, someone would say like, well, that's too obvious, right? Or that's something, but it's because that's missing.
It makes it feel less important up here.
Yeah, there's a radio show, and I don't know where it came from before or if it's been remade afterwards. So there's this very old-timey radio show, and I forget which one it is. It's either X-1 or Future. I think it's X-1. So you got an old man. It's the future, you know? So this was from the 1940s, so it's probably set in the year 2000. I don't know. But so back in the 1940s, they have this futuristic little story. You open with someone on a rocket ship going somewhere, you know, pretending to go somewhere. And they say, oh, we've got a stowaway. It turns out to be an old man who was the navigation dude for many, many years since space travel was whatever. He's been to Mars a lot of times and all this stuff. He's an old timer. He gets in trouble. The captain's like, you've got to go back to Earth. And he's like, no. So they send him back to Earth, a little capsule or something. So he's back on Earth communicating with them and giving them advice on how to do things. Well, all of a sudden, they're talking about this thing that soldiers get, or soldiers and the astronauts get, which is like blue mood or something like that. They turn kind of blue and they have to go rest. And what you find out on the ship is that for 20 years, they say, men, our soldiers and our astronauts have been getting this from going out in space and blah, blah, blah. What you find out is the people who turn blue are actually aliens, right?
Yeah.
Well, the whole time you're talking to the old man's talking to the dude. The old man's telling him, oh, now, yeah, this is what you got to do for the boys who've got the blues and da-da-da-da, and giving him good advice. And then the guy in space says to the old man, I'm the only one left. Like, he found out they're all aliens. I'm the only one left. I need help. I need to send help. And the old man's like, okay. So then you hear the old man, as someone comes in the room, like a commander comes in the room where the old man is and says, and so you're listening to this story like, oh, wow, they're aliens and we don't want them to get to Earth, right? And da-da-da, that's what they want to do is come together. So the old man, whoever comes in the room says to the old man, so have you been able to communicate with spaceship, whatever, since we haven't heard from him for a few days? And the old man says, well, no, I haven't. And the commander guy says to the old man, oh, you might want to go rest up. You're looking a little blue.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like the old man is actually one of the aliens and he's been on Earth and they're on Earth already. But see, that's even old timey radio show where it just get in the first time I ever listened to it, I was like, oh, I didn't even think of that. Right.
Yeah.
I was really hoping that this story had something.
It doesn't.
Weird or interesting. And isn't it funny that I actually thought of this story I just told you while I was watching the movie. So that's how my brain was wandering.
Going on to the cast, Ariana DeBose plays Kira Foster. What do you reckon? She's the musical lady from West Side Story.
Oh, I like her. I like her the way she is because from her performance, I was a little unsure from time to time because she was the level-headed person, right?
Yes.
She's like, let's not assume things. Let's not jump to conclusions. And she's very capable. She's also very sympathetic. She has little mice on board and some of them died. I
actually really liked her too.
Yeah, she was really good. So she still gave me the hints of she might be in the know more than she's letting on. So I liked that about her. It's just that the writing let her down a little bit, I think.
We've got Chris Messina as Gordon Barrett. He's one of the he's the American commander. What do you think of him? He's the one who goes outside.
Yeah, he's fine. I mean, everybody's a little bit
generic.
Yeah.
I don't even know how that's possible because they're actually different people, but
yeah, I mean, here's how he came off immediately kind of jerky. And you could tell he was flirting with the other lady, the Russian lady, but he was kind of like a dickhead about things, kind of rude and kind of like dismissive of everyone. So I got a little profile of him and he did that well. I mean, I was thinking like, oh, this guy's a dick. I wouldn't want him to be my commander. So there's that.
Yeah. John Gallagher Jr. plays Christian Campbell. He's the nervous guy. You know how we know he's nervous? Because he uses a Rubik Cube.
Exactly. A space Rubik Cube, apparently, that comes apart and you flick it around. And he was just instantly weaselly. Like, I didn't like him instantly. And there's always that guy. I don't like the nervous people. I don't like the purple.
Cowardly, nervous, weird.
Yeah. Like, we're all going to die, man. We're all going to die. Like that guy. I'm just not a fan of it. But I instantly knew he was going to be trouble because he was weaselly. He was all about himself, right?
Yes.
Well, my daughters are on...
They're all like caricatures. Like
absolutely.
That's the problem. Pilo Aspek plays Alexei Pulov. And I said to you, is he actually a Russian guy? He's not. He's Danish. He's from Game of Thrones. I really like him, actually. I think he's very compelling to watch. But in here, he didn't really have a ton to do, did he?
No, but he was the most emotional, I think, which I didn't mind.
He's the bad guy. Look at him. He's going to be the bad guy, right?
You thought that? I didn't think that.
I did immediately. So,
but he wasn't.
Yeah. Costa Ronin, who plays Nikolai Pulov, his brother. What do you think of him?
His brother?
Yeah, they're both brothers. Those two. They kept saying to each other.
No, they're not actually brothers.
Brother. Why they both got the same name?
Well, because they're like Russian. They're children of Russia, so they're like brothers in
arms. Why
have
they got the same second name?
I don't know.
If they keep calling each other brother.
You mean they've got the characters have the same last name?
Yes, Pulov. They're both called, it's Alexei and Nikolai Pulov.
No, I just missed that completely. I just thought
unless Pulov is the Smith of Russia, and it's just a coincidence. But I think they're actually brothers in the movie.
Right, well, they didn't portray that right, because calling each other brother to me just meant, like, we have... I think
comrade.
People,
you mean like comrade?
Yeah, or people in our military call each other brothers. So, like you're together in this.
I think they're brothers.
Why would you put two brothers on a space station together?
Who knows?
He was boring, unfortunately. I didn't like his eye. He had an eye twitch.
Yeah.
The other guy. Like his eye kept blinking, but he was put in a very awkward position. He was going to have to take over the station, and then he had to do some terrible things. And so I don't know if he was conflicted. I couldn't even tell. He didn't really...
He just came across as a psychopath.
Oh, okay. I thought he came off like, look, I just have to do this.
It was waiting for that day to me. That's how I saw it.
I didn't get that at all.
When he picked up the screwdriver and walked off, I was like, oh.
Psycho killer in space.
Yeah. And then we've got the only Russian. This lady is actually Russian. Masha Mashkova. She plays Veronica Vetrov. I really liked her too.
Yes, she was good.
And I like that they actually conversed in Russian with subtitles. Sometimes.
Yeah. It flickered back and forth.
Directed by Gabriella Copperthwaite. She did Megan Levy and Our Friend, which are both actually fairly good movies. What do you think of the director?
Fairly good movies. That's rave review right there. They're fairly.
Actually, one of them is one of my recommendations this week, so.
I feel like it's a combination of very, very functional directing, right? Because visually, you really are seeing, maybe feeling what it's like to be in that confined space station. I mean, it looks pretty good. It's a little bit flat to me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't mean visually like low contrast. I mean flat as in there's not a lot of variety, but you're in the space station, so there's not going to be. And then the performances seemed just functional. And that to me is sometimes down to the director. And then allowing the story to be so uninspiring. Sorry, ma'am. It's it's nicely done. It's well made, according to me, not to him.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, it's a tricky one.
I think it's kind of amateur hour. All right.
Oh, I don't think that.
IMDb reviews, what are those?
Those are reviews on IMDb that you're going to read the 1 stars, and we're going to get some interesting, talk about 2-dimensional cardboard cutout. They're going to be very similar to each other, for sure.
Number 1 person who gives this a 1 out of 10 says, it's an early candidate for the worst film of the year. The premise of this film seems slightly intriguing, so I gave it a chance despite my doubts. I thought perhaps the trailer was returning to form by not giving away too much. Instead, the filmmakers literally filmed enough scenes to form a trailer. What a boring 1 hour and 34 minutes. Yeah, it's not particularly long either. It's like...
I mean, you could make a good trailer for sure. I haven't seen the trailer, but I get what they're saying.
Second guy says, ISS disappoints on every level. I've just got out watching this. It was really bad. To me, it failed on every level. The script and dialogue was painful, predictable, and just not engaging. I was so bored. I actually agree that it was pretty boring in the middle of the movie.
Yeah.
I was like, is something going to happen? It's just like, eh. Number 3 says, what a painful movie. Everything is wrong with this movie. I regret wasting 2 theatre tickets. The sound is forced like a terror movie with loud music when it makes no sense. I also noticed that, did you?
Mm-mm.
Characters create zero connection with the viewer. Their actions have no sense. And the trauma is way outdated. I.S.S. versus the evil Russia. Really?
I know, yes.
Wife said she can see people is hanging instead of being 0G. I agree. The development of trauma was bad. The only good thing is it lasts 1.3 hours. Agree with the guy that says it's an early nominee for worst movie of the year. I agree with all you 1-starers this time. Extras and conclusion. We didn't see any extras, but I'm going to give ISS a 4 out of 10.
I'm going to give it just under that, maybe 4.7.
Well, see, we're still on the same wavelength, though.
We are.
Even though you enjoyed it, you're not giving it a very high mark.
Exactly, because there's nothing extraordinary or super interesting. It doesn't go above average.
No.
For all of it combined. And the experience of it was pleasant enough. I am tired today because yesterday I had a thing that I did, and I've worked up to that for like the last week. And so today was the perfect day to chill and watch a movie. It did a good job of helping me do that. So should I just go for a straight up 5?
Because you didn't nod off, so maybe 5.
I didn't go to sleep. I wasn't like, oh, I could be going upstairs and taking a nap. No, I was interested, but mildly. That's terrible.
All right, thank you
evil.
To Bleecker Street for the movie. Next week, we're looking at A24 movie, Dream Scenario, starring Nicolas Cage.
Nicholas. It's been a while. It's been a while.
I feel like it's been a while since we saw an A24 movie as well. So
yeah.
It's one of my favorite things to do, watch one of those. Movie recommendations. I am going with a movie that's in space that is much more interesting and exciting than this movie. It's Armageddon from Michael Bay. And Gabriella Copperthwaite, who directed this movie, directed a movie called Our Friend, which I thought was really, really good. You remember Our Friend?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, it's excellent.
It was good.
Bradley Cooper. I can just see Bradley Cooper in my head. It's a very good movie. I don't think many people
Is
saw
that
it.
the guy from that one movie?
Yes, that guy.
And then that lady.
Those guys and that guy. Our
and that
Friend.
one lady.
Yeah. Yours are?
Mine are, let me go over to my little sheet here that I have prepared for you. Okay. Going back to the 20th century, finding movies that are, I think, under the adventure and or action category, I forget. But it's everything from 1900 to 1999. No particular order. Moonrise Kingdom. Do you remember that one?
I do. It's
It is. Anderson.
Wes Anderson.
Yes.
Yes.
50 First Dates. I'm just throwing that one in there because one of them I had on there, I don't recall watching at all, so I had to remove it.
50 First Dates is very funny.
It's very fun. It's very sweet. I would sit and watch it again. In fact, that'd be a fun one to watch with my mom. Dogma, which we can all agree is really fun. It's a Kevin Smith movie. Into the Woods, also interesting. That's the musical.
Yes.
Yes. I really like that take on the fairy tale stuff. And Almost Famous, which I think is highly overrated, but that's just me.
Yeah, I don't think
controversy?
It's like, no, I think it's okay, but I don't think it's like the greatest movie ever, like people seem to. Like the great American movie, Almost Famous.
Yeah, I agree. It's really not that. It's some very basic concepts with some good music.
Fun.
Yeah, it's got good music. Sure.
All right, Ace Scully stuff. This week I got myself a new gadget, Sid Talk.
You did?
It's called the Steam Deck. You know what that is?
I do now.
Steam, you might have heard of it. It's a place on the internet you can go and download games. It's very popular, right?
Yeah.
Even you use Steam.
I do. I'm using it right now.
Yeah. The company that runs Steam is called Valve, and they've created a handheld computer that plays Steam games. So it looks like a Switch. That's the best way I can describe it to you. Small screen, controls, but it also is a PC at the same time. So you can plug it into your monitor and use it as a PC. It runs Linux, and then it plays all your games. It does emulation. And I got a good deal on the Steam Deck. How much did I pay for it, Sid Talk?
Nothing. Oh, wait, you bought your friend a game.
I think I probably paid like $80.
Yeah, you bought your friend a game, and they were very generous and nice and traded you.
Yeah. Well, my friend was looking to upgrade it because he wanted the one with there's one with a new screen. He wanted that one. So he was like, I'm getting this new one. Do you want my old one? And I'm like, if it's free, I'll have it. And he said, well, not free. Buy me a game and you can have it. So it's steeply discounted. And I was like, that's really,
Very exciting.
They're about $400 to buy, let's say. $399. And I've been spending like the last few days just loading it up with games. I've barely played any games because I've been loading it up with games. But once it's loaded up with games, and it plays PC games, it's not like, oh, it just plays old school games, which it does play those, but it plays the latest games too. I put Cyberpunk 2077 on there. It's a recent game.
How about my beloved Sims?
It will play The Sims, no problem. It will play City Skylines. It's not just got a game controller on board. It's got 2 mouse pads like you find on a laptop, 2 little track pads. You can use it, it's got a full-fledged Linux build on it, so you can plug it into your computer screen and use it as your everyday computer if you want.
Thank you, because it's too small. I can't see it.
No, plug it into your computer screen.
Right, but if you don't have a computer.
No, screen. You just need a screen. Any screen with HDMI on it.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. So you plug it into any screen you've got, your TV, whatever. All of a sudden, it's a computer. You just need a mouse and a keyboard. So it's the Steam Deck. I think they're about $400. You buy them through Steam. You don't buy them anywhere else. You just go to Steam's website and buy them directly from them. And so far, it's one of the coolest gadgets I've ever had my hands on. Because playing like AAA games in the palm of your hand is amazing. The screen on it's 7 inches, so it's like a Switch. And I find that to be like the perfect size, because you get any bigger than that, it gets kind of cumbersome in your hands. So I'll talk more about it next week when I've loaded it up with games. Sid Talk, what's for dinner?
Question mark. Not sure yet if we're going to do takeaway or if I'm going to dig something out of the kitchen and cook it. If it's takeaway, it's Jersey Mike's, most likely.
If it's dug out of the kitchen, it's...
Pasta, Larry David pasta.
Yeah.
with some kind of sauce, maybe, or burgers. We got some potatoes, maybe Jersey Mike's.
All right, then. So what is your advice? And then we'll get out of it.
Okay, this is really funny. Yesterday, I did a little presentation for some people about starting seeds, like gardening stuff. It's the first time I've done it in front of people. I was very, very, very anxious and very nervous, but it was a small group. Well, there's probably 20 people there all together, including my mother. So that was nice. I'm 56, right? And my mother still loves to come support me and my siblings doing whatever we're doing. And I'm the youngest. So that's what kind of mom we have. So in this little presentation, a woman beforehand kind of made it clear she was a commercial greenhouse owner. She sold and started seeds, and she's real rough and everything, right? And she's kind of knows everything. Throughout the presentation, she would interrupt me and say, yeah, well, don't forget to tell them about the this, that, and the other. And I would say, oh, hold, because I had a little slideshow and I had all my plants there. And, I was doing a little, like, how to plant all the stuff. And I'd say, oh, you mean like this? And I had the fan. She said, don't forget to tell them they're going to need a fan, blah, blah, blah. If you don't know about seed starting, don't worry about it. And I had the fan already. She told me, don't forget to tell them that they're going to have to keep track of what temperature is around their seeds. Because I said, you mean like here? And I pointed on the table to the little thermometer that I have that I put on the shelf with all my seedlings. And she kind of, oh, yeah, okay. And then she'd bring up something else. I'd say, well, that's on the slide coming up. Just give me a chance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, she had some good advice. I'm not going to knock that. But I call her like a helpful heckler, right? And I was already nervous. So having interruptions and taking me off track, because like I have little categories of what I'm talking about, and she would bring up things that are like 2 categories ahead. And it threw me off, of course. But what I would do is either like ignore her a little bit and laugh it off, and people would kind of laugh, or match her energy. She would say something and I would say, well, when is your presentation? I want to know what date you're going to be coming up here and telling everybody. Oh, no, now, girl, sunshine. She kept calling me. I'm not going to do it. I said, okay, well, then let me have a chance and I'll just, see if I know anything. Right. So the heckler situation could have been devastating. They told me that another young woman had done a canning or preservation presentation before, and she had someone in the group who interrupted her constantly. And well, that's not how I do it. And that's not how I was taught how to do it. And like that. And the other person who did the presentation was devastated. Like she said she wasn't going to do it again and she wasn't interested in. So my advice is, if you're doing anything like that in front of a group of people and someone tries to heckle you, interrupt you, you can diffuse it, but don't get discouraged because of them. Like, don't let it crush you. If you know your subject and what you do, it works for you, then don't let them bring you down or discourage you, right? They just have their own issues for some reason or whatever. So that's my advice.
Well done. Well said. ascully.com is the place you can go to get this website. ascully.com is the place you can go to get this podcast. You can also go to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You can also catch it on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, YouTube, and don't email Sid Talk. She doesn't want any email. You can email me instead, ascully@ascully.com, and stay classy, the International Space Station.
And I'm going to say thank for yourself, or someone will do it for you.